Erica Slezak didn't just guest star. She showed up the entire cast. General Hospital has never been known for subtle exits, but the send-off of Monica Quartermaine might just redefine bittersweet chaos. For a character as iconic as Monica, this wasn't the grand, sweeping farewell she deserved, but somehow one suspects Leslie Charleson herself might have approved. There was a strange, fitting poetry to it all, a blend of heart, humor, and complete unpredictability. Thankfully, Erica Slezak's guest appearance as Ronnie turned what could have been a clumsy farewell into something spectacular. Slezak's performance was a masterclass in how to command a scene with effortless nuance. Anyone who remembers her as Vicki Lord from One Life to Live would hardly be surprised. This is a woman who can turn a meltdown over a teacup into Emmy material. And speaking of teacups, what an epic tea party! Ronnie's wild energy, the shoes off, the feet on the table, and the priceless look on Stella's face when her cup met its untimely demise. Pure gold. GH doesn't often lean into absurd comedy, but when it does, it reminds viewers that not every emotional beat has to come with tears. Sometimes laughter does the heavy lifting. Still, beneath the humor lurks a mystery. Theories are already flying faster than Martin's smirks about who shot Drew. Ronnie's letter to Drew, conveniently found by Martin, has suspicious timing. The usual suspect, Tracy, is already being blamed for spiking Ronnie's tea, but the more likely culprit seems to be Martin himself. His motives are cloudy, his visits suspicious, and his interest in Ronnie far too personal to be innocent. Some even speculate that Ronnie's collapse wasn't chemical at all, that her trauma, possibly tied to her alternate personalities, triggered a Nikki Smith-style break the moment Martin appeared. Whether Ronnie was in control or not, Slezak's layered portrayal sold every second. Her performance was magnetic, funny, heartbreaking, and unnervingly unpredictable. Exactly what GH needed to shake off the recent creative rust. If the daytime Emmys don't at least acknowledge her, that's on them. Elsewhere in Port Charles, the dysfunction continued at its usual volume. Dante's interrogation of Michael was less police procedure and more psychological waterboarding. It was an endless exercise in forcing guilt where there was none, proving that even when the PCPD isn't framing the wrong person, they still manage to act like they are. Then there's Carly, forever caught between deception and delusion. The idea that she should stay with Brennan because he kept secrets is laughable. This man didn't just withhold information, he recruited her daughter into espionage. There's a difference between protecting someone and exploiting them. Still, credit where it's due, Carly playing Brennan was the kind of calculated duplicity GH hasn't given her in years. Her new identity arc might finally make her interesting again. And while fans dissect ringtones and courtroom glances to determine Drew's shooter, a few stray theories are so wild they almost deserve their own spin-off. Ronnie being secretly connected to Shiloh's mother, Monica paying her off with a house as some convoluted revenge plot. It's unhinged, but gloriously so. If GH can channel even half this creative chaos into consistent storytelling, Port Charles might just survive another year. For now, though, we can raise a teacup, preferably unbroken, to Erica Slezak, who reminded everyone what veteran daytime acting really looks like. Never assume loyalty exists in the Quartermaine family. That house runs on betrayal, not electricity. The Quartermaine estate hasn't seen this much chaos since the last time someone tried to rewrite a will, which apparently is becoming a family tradition. The latest circus features Ronnie, the ever-unlikely lady of the house, whose newfound fortune raises the obvious question, who exactly is footing the electric bill? Because let's face it, running that mansion doesn't come cheap. Between maintenance, utilities, and the occasional groundskeeper, we're talking $10,000 to $20,000 a month. Unless Cody's suddenly gone into real estate, someone's wallet is bleeding quietly in the background. And if Martin or Drew were the masterminds behind the will's alteration, they clearly forgot one crucial detail: money leaves footprints. But let's not forget that Tracy, queen of cutting remarks and questionable compassion, has been treating Ronnie like a stain on Monica's carpet since the day she arrived. Yet the idea that Ronnie is somehow masterminding Monica's will scheme? Unlikely. Martin's the true puppeteer here, And if he's pulling the strings, Ronnie might just be another casualty of his ongoing vendetta against Tracy. The fallout has been brutal. Tracy's family turned on her faster than a boardroom of shareholders discovering their dividends are gone. But really, was anyone expecting loyalty from the Quartermains? Tracy can't even take down a photo frame without someone gasping about heritage. Then, in another corner of Port Charles, moral hypocrisy runs wild. Dante and Chase, the city's self-appointed judges of character, are ready to canonize Willow while crucifying Michael for a teenage act of self-defense. The same Michael who saved a newborn from a psychopath is suddenly branded a lifelong menace because it suits their narrative. Chase's reasoning is predictable. The man loses all IQ points where Willow is concerned. But Dante's betrayal hits differently. Nothing says brotherly love, like accusing your sibling of murder while defending the woman making his life miserable. Meanwhile, Lulu accidentally sets off a chain reaction when she mentions Ronnie to her uncle, prompting him to race to the Quartermains under the flimsiest pretext in soap history. A dropped phone that clearly wasn't dropped. Martin's interest in Monica's sister reeks of premeditation, and the fact that he was the only man at a women's tea party right before the guest of honor got suspiciously drunk. Let's just say that's not subtle villainy. That's amateur hour in a three-piece suit. If the writers were going for Agatha Christie meets chaos, mission accomplished. The tea party alone deserves an Emmy for unintentional comedy. The props department can't seem to decide where the teapot lives. Stella's cup of tea keeps reincarnating, and the trinket box might as well be a character at this point. By the time Stella drops her cup, which may or may not have contained Ronnie's original spiked tea, continuity has packed its bags and left the studio. Yet, despite the madness, that's the magic of General Hospital. One minute you want to throttle Drew, the next you're hugging Tracy, cheering for Michael, and wishing karmic justice upon Willow. Carly's high on self-assurance, Jason's playing Father of the Year, and Britt's still allergic to self-awareness. It's infuriating, it's messy, it's utterly addictive. Say what you will about the writing. It's inconsistent, occasionally absurd, and deeply flawed. But it does what daytime television does best. It makes you feel something, even when that feeling is pure exasperation. So yes, the Quartermains are imploding, Martin's poisoning tea sets, and Drew continues to redefine the art of being insufferable. But as long as Port Charles keeps spinning, there will always be someone to root for, someone to despise, and a teacup or two just waiting to shatter. Drew Kane isn't desperate. He's dangerous, especially when he's pretending to be noble. Desperation has never worn a more polished suit than it does on Drew Kane. His attempt to strong-arm Alexis into representing Willow by dangling visitation rights with Scout, as leverage was less a negotiation and more a moral nosedive. It's astonishing that Alexis didn't immediately show him the door the moment he rejected her condition that Danny be allowed to visit as well. Drew's smugness suggested confidence, but his tactics reeked of panic. The man didn't just cross a line, he auctioned it off. Alexis, of course, saw straight through him. Her refusal to play along with his manipulative counteroffer exposed what everyone has quietly suspected. Drew doesn't value Scout as a daughter, only as a bargaining chip. His willingness to weaponize his child to get what he wants confirms it. If Alexis had any sense of poetic justice, she'd use that very exchange as evidence in a custody battle. Meanwhile, the Quartermain estate has devolved into its usual brand of aristocratic absurdity. Tracy, never one to shy away from melodrama, actually has a point this time. Monica's decision to leave the family mansion to Ronnie, her estranged sister of 50 years, while handing Tracy nothing but a jar of pickled relish, was a masterclass in cruelty. To give the family home to a near stranger while reducing the woman who's been by your side for decades to condiment duty is beyond petty. It's practically performance art. Tracy's outrage is entirely justified, and frankly, she should invoke squatters' rights just to make a point. Yet somehow, the rest of the Quartermains are tripping over themselves to side with Ronnie. Olivia and Brooklyn's betrayal stings the most. Their willingness to champion Monica's long-lost sister over their own family matriarch is both short-sighted and tone-deaf. The moral blindness in that household could rival the WSB's operational ethics. Speaking of misguided loyalties, the Port Charles rumor mill has decided Michael is public enemy number one in Drew's shooting. It's convenient, perhaps even predictable, but wildly implausible. Michael, raised under the tutelage of Sonny and Jason, would never be foolish enough to use a registered firearm belonging to his deceased grandfather, nor would he be careless enough to leave it lying around to be found. The theory collapses under the weight of common sense. If anything, the sloppy handling of the weapon suggests there's far more to the story than anyone's admitting. But of course, nuance is a rare commodity in this town. Everyone's so quick to exonerate their favorites while condemning others without a second thought. Tracy, for instance, receives no benefit of the doubt despite her loyalty spanning nearly half a century, yet Ronnie, a virtual stranger, gets instant credibility. The inconsistency would be laughable if it weren't so infuriating. Elsewhere, the emotional debris continues to pile up. Curtis and Kaya's heart-to-heart about Trina barely disguised their discomfort about Drew, while Jordan wrestles with whether to tell Curtis about the baby. Anna has somehow found time to induct Jocelyn into the WSB, counseling her on the inevitable toll of a life in espionage, a perfectly rational next step for a college student, naturally. And Isaiah inviting Portia to his cabin sounds like the sort of idea that only ends with someone bleeding dramatically on a rug. And then, in a rare moment of clarity, comes the most biting truth of all. Everyone has a breaking point. Willow, Michael, even Drew. The town's moral compass spins depending on the week. But for now, one thing remains certain. Port Charles is less a community and more a collection of people weaponizing loyalty, family, and love for personal leverage. If hypocrisy were currency, the Quartermains, and Drew Kane, would be billionaires. Here's the ugly truth. The Bold and the Beautiful turned one of daytime's best actors into a walking loop. Scott Clifton is one of daytime television's most capable actors, and perhaps one of its most chronically underused. His current tenure as Liam Spencer on The Bold and the Beautiful feels less like a showcase of his range, and more like a decade-long exercise in narrative déjà vu. The man has been trapped in an eternal loop of love triangles, self-pity, and recycled dialogue. Viewers could skip 5 years and still find Liam mooning over Steffi and Hope, neither of whom seems particularly interested in listening to him anymore. Meanwhile, General Hospital sits on a goldmine it hasn't touched in years. Dylan Quartermain. A genuine legacy character, the son of one of Port Charles' few remaining Quartermains, Dylan could inject fresh life into the family's waning prominence. The Quartermains are a pillar of GH's identity, yet their legacy has thinned to a few scattered remnants. A well-written Dylan return could rebuild that foundation and bring a much-needed generational balance back to the show. Of course, there's a catch. Clifton has little incentive to abandon The Bold and the Beautiful. He's been a lead for over a decade, the show revolves around his character, and, perhaps most tempting of all, it's a half-hour production. Less work, better pay, and steady visibility. For any actor, that's a comfortable arrangement, even if the creative payoff has long since evaporated. There's also the matter of professional politics. Clifton has openly praised the B&B environment as a true family, contrasting it with other soaps where ego and hierarchy dominate. Translation: he's not exactly rushing to rejoin an old regime that left a sour taste, particularly with GH's current leadership. Unless there's a major shakeup behind the scenes, the odds of him returning are slim to non-existent. Could he pull a Wally Kurth and juggle both shows? Unlikely. Kurth operates on recurring status, while Clifton is almost certainly under contract, a deal that typically guarantees exclusivity in exchange for higher pay. That flexibility, soap's version of a creative open relationship, is a luxury contract players rarely enjoy. Still, the fantasy of a Dylan return persists because it makes narrative sense. With Jane Elliott's Tracy Quartermain making regular appearances, this would be the perfect moment to reintroduce her son. The show could even recast the role if Clifton remains unavailable, preferably with an actor capable of carrying the Quartermain charm without the Liam baggage. Ironically, the only real opening for a Dylan comeback might have emerged if B&B had actually followed through with one of its near-death cliffhangers for Liam. They've toyed with killing him off before, only to pull back at the last second. If that ever changes, perhaps Clifton would finally be free to reclaim a role and a storyline worthy of his talent. Until then, B&B will continue circling its creative drain, forcing Clifton to deliver yet another round of "Who does Liam love this week?" speeches. General Hospital may have its flaws, but even its most chaotic storylines would be a step up from that kind of career purgatory. In short, Dylan Quartermain deserves a resurrection, Scott Clifton deserves an escape, and daytime TV deserves better than the endless rerun that is Liam Spencer's emotional crisis. General Hospital doesn't need another love triangle. It needs a fire, a plague, or at least a pulse. It's been far too long since Port Charles has faced a proper disaster. Not a lukewarm mob spat, not another mystery boss lurking in a back room, but an actual town-wide catastrophe. Hostage crises, viral outbreaks, hotel fires, train wrecks. You know, the kind of chaos that used to make General Hospital feel like an event rather than a collection of unrelated sketches stitched together by bad lighting and worse pacing. Once upon a time, this show excelled at the high-stakes spectacle. The Metro Court hostage crisis, the Port Charles Hotel fire, the haunted stars near sinking. These weren't just storylines, they were cultural moments. But lately? The canvas feels scattered, the tension diluted, and the energy non-existent. The closest thing to danger now is waiting to see whether the writers will remember to finish a storyline before starting 5 new ones. And let's be honest, the absence of Bob Guza is felt. Love him or loathe him, the man knew how to blow up a set and give half the cast something to do. Ron Carlivati, for all his eccentricity, at least understood how to craft spectacle. See the 2012 water pathogen story. Today's scripts, by contrast, seem afraid to commit. Even the so-called mob war is unfolding at the pace of a sedated snail. Of course, disaster stories come with their own risks. Chief among them, the writer's pathological urge to kill off beloved characters, only to resurrect them months later in a blaze of absurdity. General Hospital could stand a break from the revolving door of death. No more miraculous returns from the dead. No more, "I was in a coma in Cassadine cryo storage" reveals. The show has enough ghosts as it is, mostly in the writing room. What it truly needs is balance. Less apocalyptic virus, more human connection. Storylines that weave families, friendships, and romantic partnerships back into the heart of Port Charles. A little adventure wouldn't hurt either. An escapade or two that brings the ensemble together without resorting to another explosion or plague. And while we're at it, perhaps it's time to finish a few of the storylines cluttering the hospital corridors. The Agent Kate's murder, the botched Drew Kane assassination attempt, the endless moral whiplash surrounding Nina. These plots linger like unswept cobwebs. Drew calling Nina a bitch may have caused a minor uproar, but that man has been unhinged since long before he started yelling in Carly's kitchen. Meanwhile, the cold fusion storyline looms like a promise, or a threat. It could be the next big arc that ties the entire town together, but history warns against optimism. General Hospital has a habit of setting up grandeur and delivering confusion. Remember the mystery boss? The one that fizzled faster than a half-hearted wedding toast? Exactly. There's potential here, if the writers dare to seize it. A single, cohesive crisis that involves everyone from the hospital to the mob, from the courtroom to the Metro Court. Something worthy of the show's title and legacy. Because right now, Port Charles feels unnervingly calm, and calm has never suited this town. If the cold fusion project doesn't end in mayhem, perhaps we can settle for a less deadly epidemic. A baby boom, maybe? Stranger things have happened in this hospital. GH doesn't write women who heal. They write women who wait to be rescued. There was a time when Willow Tate was written as the woman who saved herself. A teacher, survivor, and former cult victim, she entered General Hospital as a character defined by resilience and quiet strength. Now, years later, she's become the poster child for distress dependency, perpetually in need of a savior, conveniently male, and preferably powerful. the pattern is painfully obvious. Shiloh saved her once, right before he terrorized her. Chase saved her from Nell, from Michael saved her from heartbreak, until he didn't. Drew saved her from something, presumably his own ego. The men change, the rescue remains. Willow doesn't so much fall in love as she imprints on whoever happens to yank her from the latest emotional fire. It's less romance, more Pavlovian response. Of course, the question arises, if a woman were to save Willow, would she swoon just the same? The answer is probably not. It's not the rescue that enchants Willow, it's the power. Every man she's attached herself to wields influence. Michael with his Quartermain connections, Chase, the honorable cop, Drew, the congressman. Even her so-called savior complex is selective. When women like Liz, Liesel, or even Holly have stepped up to help her, she's shown gratitude, not infatuation. The female saviors lack the authority she craves. Power, not protection, is Willow's true aphrodisiac. Yet, one can't entirely blame her without indicting the writers who turned a layered trauma survivor into a damsel for hire. Early Willow stood up to cult leaders, helped deprogram victims, and took moral risks for the greater good. The current version can barely stand without a man holding her up, spiritually, romantically, or narratively. The show has warped her psychology into a self-fulfilling prophecy of weakness, justified by her upbringing in a cult, and the misguided notion that trauma must always translate into dependence. Her relationship with her mother, Harmony, certainly laid the groundwork. Raised in a cult and groomed to equate submission with safety, Willow internalized the idea that love is something bestowed by a rescuer, not chosen by an equal. When Harmony died, Carly conveniently filled the replacement mother role, lying, manipulating, and still somehow earning Willow's loyalty. Meanwhile, the women who actually saved her life, Liesel, Nina, Liz, are treated with thinly veiled disdain. Apparently, maternal power only counts when it comes wrapped in blonde martyrdom. Even her dynamic with Nina, her biological mother, underscores Willow's warped value system. Before their DNA connection, Nina was the villain. Afterward, Willow granted her conditional forgiveness, rooted not in understanding but obligation. To Willow, relationships are transactional. Those with power over her earn devotion. Those without are disposable. The savior fixation isn't limited to gender, it's systemic. GH's writers have a long-standing allergy to allowing women to rescue themselves. Every time Willow stumbles toward independence, they script a fresh crisis to shove her back into some man's arms. Her latest, Rescue by Drew, who apparently saved her by existing in the same general vicinity, was less heroism and more narrative laziness. Even Laura Collins did more for Willow than Drew ever did. At this point, the only salvation this character needs is psychiatric, not romantic. The show could easily turn her endless rescues into a meaningful exploration of trauma recovery, a woman confronting her dependency and learning to reclaim agency. But that would require writing, and worse, accountability. Instead, GH seems determined to keep Willow trapped in an endless loop of male validation. What Willow truly needs is therapy, not another savior. A real therapist, perhaps a resurrected Andre Maddox, or even a new professional at GH, could guide her through the aftermath of cult indoctrination, abuse, loss, and self-erasure. Let her unravel why she equates power with love, control with safety, and dependence with devotion. Let her rescue herself for once. Until then, Willow Tate remains television's most tragic paradox. A woman written as both survivor and perpetual victim, too strong to die, yet too weak to live without someone else's help. The real miracle won't be her next salvation. It'll be the day General Hospital finally stops writing her like she needs one. That escalated quickly. After the disastrous party thrown for Ronnie, things ended in an explosive argument that left someone leaving the Quartermain mansion during the October 21, 2025 episode of General Hospital. Brooke Lynn's kind gesture to welcome Ronnie to Port Charles with a tea party took a turn when Ronnie suddenly became inebriated. The new homeowner let loose as she kicked off her shoes and began tapping on Lila's china, which of course set off Tracy. As Tracy tore into Ronnie for acting so foolish, Ronnie showed everyone that she's not to be messed with and put Tracy in her place, something not many people have accomplished. But it was when Ronnie became dizzy that she accused Tracy of drugging her. Tracy almost laughed until no one else in the room came to her defense, and that was when Tracy finally let her true feelings out. She admitted that leaving her a measly jar of relish while leaving Ronnie the house was cruel, and Monica was anything but cruel. Tracy knew something was up with the will, and as she left her family home, she assured everyone she was going to get to the bottom of it. Many fans believe the will Alexis read was doctored by Martin as a way of retaliating against Tracy. We all know he recognized Ronnie's name from Monica's letter, and if the two conspired to take the house from Tracy, they certainly succeeded with their retaliation. General Hospital spoilers for October 22nd. Take things back to the current Faison fiasco, when Valentine gets an unexpected visitor in Steinmauer, while Brennan meets with Joss, presumably about her next assignment. The detectives on Drew's shooting investigation are biased. Let's face it, General Hospital's PCPD hasn't solved many crimes in recent years. Austin, Cyrus, and Jagger were all murdered in Port Charles, and no one has faced justice. Now, the detectives looking into Drew's shooting are all a little too close for comfort. Can't someone else on the force to take over the case? Willow has been arrested and sent to Pentonville for shooting Drew. She may or may not be guilty, and if she is, there is always the mental illness defense. Either way, one of the detectives on the case is oddly her ex-husband, Chase. Chase loves his wife, Brooke Lynn, but he clearly has some lingering feelings for his ex, and she knows it. Willow loves to play the victim, and when she does, Chase becomes wrapped around her finger. She cries and whines to him, and the detective melts. He believes she is innocent and is constantly trying to help her, so he is probably not the right guy to handle this case. Chase is way too emotional about Willow and can easily make mistakes, which he has already. Dante is Chase's partner. He is also Michael's brother, and Michael is a suspect. Dante was right to tell his partner that his judgment is off concerning Willow, but he is in the same category. How can he be impartial when his brother is a suspect? After Chase pointed this out to him, he went to Michael to speak off the record, and things got heated. The conversation went awry when Dante admitted he doesn't necessarily believe that his brother is innocent. This situation may cause a rift between the brothers. Dante should never have been assigned to this case. Anna was a great WSB agent, but not the best police commissioner. There are unsolved murders in Port Charles, and now she has put two obviously biased detectives on the Drew case. She witnessed how Chase became overly emotional when it came to Willow, but she let him continue his investigation. There must be someone else in the station who had no ties to the suspects. Then again, this is Port Charles, where everyone is connected to someone. Nina finally got a clue thanks to Nathan. It turns out that Nathan's return from the dead on General Hospital is the best thing that has happened to Nina in a long time. Nathan seems to be the one person who can get through to Nina regarding Wacky Willow. After Nathan died, Nina was left without her person. Even though she had Liesel and Maxie, it wasn't the same as having her little brother in her corner. Family has always been the one thing Nina longed for, but was missing, especially after she got a brief taste of it with Valentine and Charlotte. It's why she's so desperate to be a mom to Willow. Nina still has that desperation, but at least she finally listened to the voice of reason, following her arrest for giving Willow a fake alibi in Drew's shooting. Marco tried convincing Nina to let Willow loose and plead guilty. However, she wasn't having it until Nathan made her see the light. Nina finally had the one person who wouldn't lie to her and always has her back, making her listen. We know Nina has not done so great things in the past, but seriously, who on GH hasn't? It was awesome to see Nathan get through to Nina, and the look of shock on Drew and Willow's faces when she chose to save herself. Dominic Zamprogna explains that Dante is under pressure, caught between defending Michael and facing the possibility that his brother really pulled the trigger. When Willow pointed the finger at Michael for planting Edward's gun in her room on General Hospital, Dante didn't exactly rush to defend his brother. Even though Willow is the one without an alibi, Michael's excuse isn't much stronger. and Dante knows it. As the investigation into Drew's shooting intensifies, Dante is caught between being a cop and being a brother. And as Dominic Zamprogna revealed, he's acutely aware of just how messy this is going to get. Zamprogna, who spent 16 years playing Dante, told Soap Opera Digest that navigating the gray area between duty and family is second nature to him by now. "That's part of this business that you've kind of got to get over," he said, laughing about how often his character ends up in scenes that would never happen in real life. He's fully aware of when fans are going to have something to say about Dante's actions. "I know exactly when what Dante is doing will be picked apart," he admitted. When it comes to Willow's accusation, Dante isn't blind to how thin Michael's story sounds. He explained that as flimsy as Michael's story is, Willow's is non-existent, but Michael has an alibi. That's why, for now, Dante is leaning on the evidence, but his gut isn't giving Michael a free pass either. Zamprogna didn't sugarcoat it. Dante is also fully aware that it could all be BS, and Michael is the one who did it. The issue isn't just what Michael says, it's who he is. Zamprogna noted that Michael's ruthless streak isn't exactly new. The alibi involving Jacinda isn't helping either. "Yeah, he's not really buying that," Zamprogna said bluntly, adding that Dante is already hearing plenty from people who haven't forgotten Michael's past. Still, Dante is trying to protect him, even if it might cost him. The last thing he wants is for that to backfire, for him to defend Michael and then find out, "Oh, you actually did do this?" Zamprogna said. Dante knows what it looks like, and he's not pretending otherwise. And because soap irony is undefeated, there's even a little humor woven in. Dante's line about Michael changing after the fire at Sunny's made the cast laugh, considering the role was literally cast. The actor deftly used it to Dante's advantage, creating a cool Easter egg within the episode, and nod to Michael's recast. General Hospital spoilers say this might very well be the beginning to the very end of Drew Quartermain's life as we know it. That's because Sidwell has Drew exactly where he needs to be, and that's under his thumb. While Sidwell can't be forgiven for what he had done to Maxie, and what he probably did to Michael, there's a good chance that he's going to continue making Drew do all his dirty work in Port Charles, and let's just say viewers are here for it. Of course, GH fans had a lot to say about where this storyline might go on social media. Some even wrote comments such as, "While it's bad that it's Sidwell, because it means Drew will probably get blackmailed into doing more bad stuff, I just couldn't stop laughing at the look on his face when he realized he wasn't in control. If I liked Portia, I would have been laughing when she and Curtis confronted Drew, and he had to back down too. But with Sidwell, he's now getting treated like he treated Curtis." Another fan of the show wrote, "Sidwell blackmailing Drew actually makes sense in the grand scheme. Why? Because Sidwell needs a politician and someone in office who he can control. Drew just happens to be that stooge, and Sidwell happens to have all sorts of evidence against Drew that can send him back to prison. But why Sidwell won't expose him is because he still needs him, but the second he realizes, he doesn't. Drew is as good as gone." And then there was this comment as well. "Only good storyline for Drew is his death. I want him gone. I want more characters that are potential couples. I want romance drama couples with chemistry that heat the screen, ones I can look forward to watching." It goes without saying that fans will simply have to tune in each and every day to find out what will happen next on General Hospital. General Hospital airs weekdays on the ABC network. Check your local listings for times. For now, let us know what you think by leaving us a line with your thoughts in our comments section below. Multiple party guests may have wanted Ronnie drunk. Erica Slizak is doing a terrific job as Monica's long-lost sister, Ronnie, on General Hospital. The tea party was so much fun to watch, especially after Ronnie got drunk. Did someone spike her drink? If so, who? Martin was definitely up to something. Moments after Lulu told her uncle about Ronnie, he rushed over to the queues with a lame excuse about Lulu dropping her phone, which she clearly did not. It has long been thought that Martin was the one who found Monica's little sister to somehow get back at Tracy. The only man at the women's tea party was looking mighty suspicious right before Ronnie clearly became drunk and began to act inappropriately. What would Martin's endgame be by spiking the guest of honor's tea? All should be revealed soon because Slezak only has a short time frame on the soap. Tracy has made it clear from day one that she doesn't trust her sister-in-law's sister. Odds are that she is correct, but the rest of the family has been much more accepting, which upsets the Q matriarch to no end. Tracy could have spiked the tea so that Ronnie's true colors would be revealed. This would prove to all of Port Charles that Ronnie doesn't belong. Even better would be if, under the influence, Monica's sister admitted why she really came to town. Ronnie was clearly extremely uncomfortable at Brooklyn's tea party thrown in her honor. She was out of place and didn't really know how to act in front of Port Charles society. Curtsying to Aztec Princess Felicia was laugh-out-loud fun. Many people might take a few sips of a drink to relax a bit, but they were only serving tea at this party. Ronnie could have headed over to the bar and maybe poured a little too much alcohol into her cup. She certainly loosened up, but probably more than she intended. Drunkenly going off on Tracy was a great moment, but we really can't wait to see the fallout. General Hospital spoilers reveal that Harrison Chase's need to protect Willow Tate could cause problems in his marriage to Brooklyn Quartermain Chase. The good news is that BLQ is fully aware of Chase's friendship with his ex and how he believes in her innocence. The bad news is, if he goes full throttle against Brooklyn's cousin, Michael Corinthos, things could turn sour for the super couple. General Hospital spoilers remind fans that BLQ isn't as fond of Willow as Chase is. Chase believes that Willow didn't shoot Drew Kane, and he's on the hunt to prove that Michael framed his ex-wife. But could Chase cross a line as he attempts to nab Michael for planting Edward Quartermain's gun at Elizabeth Liz Baldwin's home? How would Brooklyn feel if she found out? BLQ and Michael are close, and she's not a fan of the nurse, nor of Willow's decision-making since she's been with Drew. Plus, if Michael is innocent and never framed Willow, BLQ will be very PO'd at her husband for going above and beyond to nail him. During the week of October 13 to 17, Chase and Brooklyn shared a scene where they talked about Willow and touched on their marriage. A comment was made about how their relationship was based on open communication, and Chase was so happy that he could talk to his wife about Willow. The two are very transparent, as lies in the past offered massive stumbling blocks in their romance. Still, in the land of soaps, conversations like this often foreshadow doom and gloom coming. Could Chase do something unethical, potentially risking his job, to clear Willow's name and prove that Michael planted Edward's gun? Whether Michael did this or not, BLQ might be outraged that Chase took a chance of this sort, all for an ex. And Willow, for that matter. Chase seems infatuated with protecting Willow and her innocence surrounding Drew's shooting. So will he attempt to go above and beyond to prove Michael set her up? General Hospital spoilers reveal a preview clip has been released for Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. It shows Alexis Davis getting a proposition. Tracy Quartermain and Veronica Ronnie Bard's feud spirals out of control. Plus, Trina Robinson opens up to Jocelyn Jacks. Keep reading, and let's talk about what is coming up in the ABC soap opera. Let's start off with Jordan Ashford. The woman has figured out that Portia Robinson is pregnant. It won't take long before Jordan realizes why Curtis Ashford doesn't know. It wasn't that long ago that Jordan and Isaiah Gannon exchanged words. Moving forward, Jordan will vent to Anna Devane. The preview clip shows Jordan declaring that Portia is lying to Curtis once again. Meanwhile, Portia can't handle anymore and charges out of the door. As the woman storms out, she tells everyone to mind their own business. As for Kai Taylor, he pays a visit to Curtis. The young man says that he is there to give Curtis an apology. General Hospital spoilers for Tuesday, October 21st, reveal that Trina will meet up with Jocelyn. The two will get caught up, and Trina ends up making an admission. The college student informs the blonde, "There is one thing that could just turn this whole thing around." The preview clip also shows Lucas Jones helping Lulu Spencer with a moral dilemma. Fans know that Lulu and Lucy Coe overheard Michael Corinthos' statement to Dante Falconeri. However, when the journalist talks to Lucas, he warns that she could be helping a guilty woman go free. Over with Drew Kane, he is desperate to free Willow Tate. Martin Gray warned the nurse that she needs a really good criminal attorney. That might be where Alexis comes in. The congressman says that the clock is ticking, and this is his final offer. At the Q-Man Nation, Tracy and Ronnie's tea party continues spiraling out of control. It looks like Tracy leaps toward the interloper, but Ronnie isn't as drunk as she seems. The woman jumps right up and tells Tracy in a menacing voice, "Don't you dare!" Which storyline are you looking forward to seeing the most on Tuesday, October 21st, 2025? General Hospital spoilers hint that many fans seem to believe that Michael Corinthos framed Willow Tate for Drew Kane's shooting by planting Edward Quartermaines in Elizabeth Liz Baldwin's home. But was he doing it to protect himself or someone else? General Hospital spoilers note that Michael has been rather calculating and methodical since Drew was shot. He's made sure to have an alibi in adult worker, Jacinda Bracken, and even arriving at Liz's home 2 weeks back, he did an 180-degree shift on Willow's visitation with the kids, which seemed odd, and as if it was part of a larger plan. The fact that Michael was at Drew's home the night of the shooting seems more than suspicious. Did he shoot Drew? While all arrows point to him being the culprit, GH fans know that a good whodunit storyline never has the obvious suspect as the shooter. There's been a ton of buzz that Scout Quartermaine could be Drew's shooter. After all, she was having major issues with her father leading up to his shooting, thanks to the restraining orders he processed against her entire extended family. Drew isolated Scout as a way to get back at the Davis ladies and the Quartermaine family. It wouldn't be hard to imagine Scout snagging Edward's gun from the Q estate at some point and being the shooter. Plus, Trina Robinson and Kai Taylor also heard Scout's ringtone coming from Drew's phone after he was shot. With that said, was it coming from Drew's phone, or potentially hers, as maybe she has the same ringtone for calls? This is the land of soaps, where anything is plausible. Could Michael's extreme steps be to protect Scout? If he was at Drew's home, he may have seen the entire situation go down. Michael loves Scout and would do anything to protect the little girl. He also understands the stress the child has been under since she lost her mom, Sam McCall. But what if Danny Morgan is the shooter? Once again, Michael is very close with Jason Morgan's son and would also do all he could to ensure the boy didn't head to prison. After all, Michael was a very young man during his first sentencing, and he'd want to shelter Danny from the trauma he'd been through too. Did Michael frame Willow? If he did, was it to protect himself or someone else? Comment below. Tune into the ABC Soap Daily for all the drama and visit this site for all the best General Hospital updates, news, and spoilers. And General Hospital spoilers and updates for the week of October 2024 suggest that Valentine Cassadine is set to have an unexpected guest at Steinmauer. Could it be that Nathan West will drop by to visit the former WSB agent? In the weekly preview for GH, Valentine is depicted having a meeting with someone at Steinmauer. As he approaches the table to sit down, a woman is visible from behind, resembling Anna Devane or DA Justine Turner. However, her face remains hidden. A voiceover of Valentine is heard as he remarks, "I did not expect to see you." He had previously summoned his ex to Steinmauer through a request to Jack Brennan during the week of October 13-17. Brennan is seeking more details about Cesar Faison's final project, and Valentine assured he would provide that information after he met with his daughter, Charlotte Cassadine. Last week, this request was approved, but Valentine pushed for a meeting with Anna before revealing more. It's strange that he was surprised to see her at Steinmauer. Considering everything, perhaps he invited her, but didn't expect her to accept. However, there's another possibility. Anna might visit Valentine, and he could also receive an unexpected guest, someone who would shock him and GH viewers. With all the Faison discussions, it's easy to imagine one of his recently reappeared kids dropping by Europe to see Valentine. The ex-WSB agent appears to have extensive knowledge about the lab work Britt Westbourne was part of, suggesting someone from the project might visit him to ensure his silence. Britt lacks the resources for such a trip, so could Nathan surprise Valentine and viewers by going to Steinmauer? GH fans are divided on Nathan, since Britt's reaction to her brother being alive was unexpected. Additionally, her instinct to keep James West away from his father seemed strange. Nathan has shown some facial expressions that could be interpreted as suspicious, but it's still unclear. There's been much speculation about Faison being alive, with his brain in a jar, meaning that Nathan has been brainwashed into thinking he's Faison, or has undergone some kind of memory alteration. Imagine the shock if Nathan showed up at Steinmauer, ready to talk to Valentine, or maybe even warn him to stay silent. Nathan's visit would not only imply he's up to something shady, but also raise more questions about his character, keeping fans intrigued, especially if he threatened Charlotte to ensure Valentine's silence. Nathan could very well be the mastermind that Gen Z Sidwell and others have hinted at regarding the research project Britt and PCU professor Henry Hank Dalton are involved in. Only time will reveal the truth. General Hospital spoilers indicate there's much more to Nathan than we realize, making it exciting to see how this plot develops. General Hospital recaps for Monday, October 20th, revealed Jack Brennan blew his chance to come clean, while Willow Tate was taken to Pentonville. Also, Michael Corinthos denied framing her, and Ronnie Bard and Tracy Quartermain argued at the tea party. Carly Spencer poured wine for herself and Jack. She made brief, tense conversation about his work and seemed surprised that he had brought Charlotte Cassadine to visit Valentine Cassadine. She told Jack she hoped he got what he wanted from the prisoner. When Jack noticed the flowers he had given her were missing, Carly claimed she had to throw them away because she broke the vase. She explained she tried to save them, but decided it was better to throw them out. Jack was relieved, fearing she was still mad at him about Jocelyn Jacks and Agent S. Vaughn. Carly admitted she was still upset and wasn't sure if she could be with someone who was required to keep things from her. Jack wondered if she was breaking up with him and insisted he would do anything for her. "Then how could you do it?" she cried. "How could you keep me in the dark about my daughter?" He reminded her that they'd agreed that he couldn't tell her everything. In response, she lashed out, reminding him that this involved her daughter, who got pulled into his world, and he said nothing about it. Jack told her that Jocelyn was never in any danger, but Carly still felt betrayed. Worried he might lose her, Jack listened as Carly asked him to promise that if Jocelyn was ever at risk, he would tell her. She kissed him, and he invited her to dinner, but she said she already had plans for a girls' night with Donna Corinthos. Jack checked again if they were okay, and Carly reassured him. Then he left. Carly let out a deep breath and later called Damian Spinelli to ask him to secretly create a new identity for her that would pass a serious background check. Before Nina Reeves's and Willow's arraignment, Martin Gray wanted to talk strategy with Marco Rios, but left, spotting Molly Lansing Davis in the hallway. In court, Martin and Willow were caught off guard when the judge started with Willow's case, since they expected both cases to be heard together. Willow pleaded not guilty. Molly asked the judge to deny bail, pointing to Willow's unpredictable behavior in the past. Martin argued that Willow has strong ties to the community, especially her children.